The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I am so excited because really, in all my years, I have yet to have a conversation with Ron Frenz. It's a pleasure, Ron. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be with you, John. Thank you very much for asking.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Dude, when Miranda contacted me and talked to me about this new project you've got going along with Roger Stern and Sal Buscema, right. You guys had my attention immediately. That is the Heroes Union. Pretty cool. Now, Ron, is this a special or is this an ongoing?
This is going to be an ongoing, along with several other titles that the Binge books are going to be presenting. It's now being, released through Diamond, so it'll be in every comic shop that wants it. So it's kind of a reemergence for us and a great jumping on point for anybody that's interested in some new characters and new concepts and a lot of fun.
I'll tell you, it looks great. It reads great. I've got a couple images from the book here to introduce your pantheon of heroes here. You've got, I'm looking at the names here, Raider, Windfall, the Blue Baron, Protege, of course, Startup, Bull, and is that Honcho?
Honcho. Actually, it's the Dewhurst Cola Honcho, because he has sold his sponsorship, so he wears an outfit like a race car driver with all these different logos on it. And Dewhurst Cola is his main sponsor, so he's the Dewhurst Cola Honcho. But that piece that you showed just there was pencils and inks by Sal Buscema. So
that's great.
There was an early piece that Sal did for Darren. Yes.
Okay. Well, here's I'm hoping this is one of your money shots here. Boom.
That is one of the money shots from the book. Yeah.
That's excellent, man.
That's my pencils and Sal Buscema's inks. Yes.
And
we also had a terrific young inker named Chris Nye come in to help out with some of the inking because the book is so big and because the book needed to get finished in a rapid pace. Once we found out exactly when publication was going to happen and everything, So.
It's a big first issue. Is it 64 or 68 pages?
I understand. I think 64 is what they've been saying. I'm not sure what the editorial content's going to be beyond the story, but the story itself is 60 pages, somewhere around that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what's the plan here with Binge Comics? Tell me about Binge.
Well, his plan is to do these large size comics at a very affordable price, around $5 or $6, which is not much more than what you're paying for a regular comic, but to give everybody the sense of, you're basically getting the 3 comics worth of entertainment for just a little bit more money. And every issue guarantees you a beginning, a middle, and an end to a story. There will be, subplot threads running through the books and all this kind of stuff, but it really answers something that's been an issue with comics for decades now, which is that single unit of entertainment issue, that bang for your buck thing, where these days a lot of the complaints are that each issue is barely a chapter in a larger storyline, which might go a year or 6 issues depending on the writer. There's all of this. Well, everything's being set up just to be used for the trade paperback collections, and a lot of people, for that reason, are passing up the single issues, just waiting for the trade paperback collections. Sure. So, Darren's trying to find that middle ground. He's trying to do something new with the packaging, which is long overdue when it comes to value for the dollar and everything else involved in comics these days. There are so many things, so many factors that publishers can't control, but that is one of the things that they can control. And I'm very proud to be a part of the attempt. It's also all ages entertainment. He's worked in television for years. Darren Henry, the publisher, has worked. He's a terrific writer. He's got a terrific modern voice. He is, he's inspiring some of us pros, us old pros like Roger Stern and I. I'm sorry, Raj, he's young. He acts younger than I do. But anyway, guys like Sal Buscema and everything, but inspired by the characters and by the freshness of the concepts. And he's not, Darren is not jaded. Everything doesn't feel like it's a version of something you've seen before. He's a creative guy on his own, been writing for TV, and these are ideas that have been with him for a while, and he finally decided to take the bull by the horns and self-publish, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, creating the characters with him has been fun. Watching the characters unfold has been fun, and anybody who enjoyed, Darren was a child of the 70s. 70s Marvel was his wheelhouse, right?
Sure.
That's why it's the perfect fit for Sal and myself. And he initially actually tried to hire Sal to pencil and ink it. And at that point in his career, Sal and I were working together on Spider-Girl, and Sal had pretty much decided he had retired from wanting to deal with the blank page every month and the storytelling. But he was the one that threw my name out. He said, Darren, if you want to hire this Ron Frenz guy, I'll ink it. I'll stay involved by inking. And so I have to thank Sal for that, because it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a wildly creative journey with Darren to get these characters on paper. And if you're a fan of that era, if you appreciate comics that were done during that period of time, and the work of Roger Stern and the work of Sal Buscema and even my own work, then give it a shot. I mean, if nothing else, you're going to have fun, because it's not dark and gritty. It's not. We're not going to shock you with the amount of blood. It's not The Boys. It's not Invincible. If that's what you really like in comics, then save your money. But if you like the heroes acting like heroes but still human and feet of clay, then I think you're going to enjoy this stuff. It's very much in my wheelhouse. It's not only the work I enjoy doing, it's the work I enjoy reading. So I highly recommend it.
I'm so with you on all counts. Absolutely. Now, for clarification, I know what you mean, but Henry is asking, when you say a large format, do you mean like Marvel Treasury edition size? No, I think he means pages. So clarify.
Yeah, we're just talking page count. We're not talking about format. I did use the word format, but I was only referring to the page count, not a Treasury size thing. Although that would be kind of cool, but that much harder to roll and put in your back pocket, or God forbid anybody do that anymore.
Exactly, man.
I did that one time with Spider-Man 252, with the first issue with the black costume. Tom DeFalco and I were at a convention, and we were walking into a panel discussion, and then we could actually fill a room for a panel discussion. And we were walking up onto the table, and they saw me roll a comic and put it in my back pocket. And somebody asked what it was, and it was a copy of 252. And DeFalco was like, "You almost got us lynched, man." I mean, the wail from the crowd of a collector's item issue being treated like a comic book did not go over well, and I try to be more careful now.
So, and again, based on what we're talking about and everything.
And I should say, these are going to be square bound.
Okay. So
Heroes Union #1, from what I understand, Darren's telling me it's going to be square bound.
Okay.
So it's going to be a little more evergreen for the shelf for the retailers out there, you owe it to yourself to at least check out the material and see if it's something that you would proudly display in your comic shop.
Well, that's again,
and for the readers, that's the thing. It's going to give you three times the reading material and hopefully the fun of a regular comic for the money. So what the heck, give it a shot.
No, absolutely, man. And again, I mean, I'm showing the cover there.
Yes.
It
The
looks
cover was inked by legendary inker Brett Breeding.
Oh, that's great, man.
Who I'm lucky enough to be personal friends with, and he stepped in and he's inked a few covers for us. And we'd like to get him as involved as he would like to be, but yeah, we've Glenn Whitmore, our colorist, worked on the Death of Superman along with Brett.
Gorgeous.
Our letterer is a gentleman named Marshall Dillon, who was for 20 years on Gunsmoke.
He's a good friend, absolutely.
And I apologize, Marshall, if you're watching this. I apologize, but somebody had to say it.
Come on, he's used to it. Yeah, I've known
He's
Marshall.
doing a terrific job. I mean, you see so many of these independent books these days that can be completely torpedoed by bad lettering.
So right.
And bad production. And Darren has just really put together a crack team. I mean, the books look great. I mean, I've worked for Marvel Comics, the top of the heap, for 20-some years. Yeah. And I am very impressed by the package, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. So, let that tell you something,
Totally, man. No, let's talk about the design of some of these heroes and stuff.
Okay.
How much of that did you, were these your ideas and stuff for these heroes?
Well, no, all the ideas are Darren's, and what it was, John, the process was just a lot of fun, because what Darren would do is he would give you the name of the character, and he would send me all of this disparate reference. He would say, I'm thinking, maybe boots, something like this, or a helmet, something like this. And I found this on the internet. This looked kind of cool. Can we do something with this design? That kind of thing. And then I would sit with all of that in front of me and try to, process it and see if I can bring it together design-wise into a character that made sense. And if it worked, it was great. And even if it didn't work, it was a lot of fun. I mean,
yeah.
The Baron, the Blue Baron character, he actually sent me a drawing. I don't know by who. I don't know if he just found it on the internet, but it was like a color pencil drawing of a Baron. A guy with the sashes and the pocket watch and the stockings and all this kind of stuff, and said, "Can you make a superhero out of this?" And I said, "I won't know until I try." So we took a dive at it, and luckily, the costume is supposed to be a little cheesy. The costume is supposed to be on the cheesy, overdone end of the superhero experience, because it's a character who has been around since the Revolutionary War.
Yep.
And so he's part of the old guard. He is our Superman character.
Sure.
He's the guy. So it played into it and everything. So if you think there's too many flourishes and it's a little too much, it's supposed to be. It works for the character. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
No, in fact, I love the fact that it is this kind of cross-section, not only men and women, but also legacy characters, brand new heroes,
right?
Golden Age heroes. And again, in the case of the Baron, he's the grandson of the, I know, the 1940s character at the very least, right? Oh, am I not supposed to reveal that?
Well, to the rest of the world, and even to some of the other superheroes, they think it's the same guy.
Sure.
It's kind of like the Phantom type of legacy character.
That's awesome.
Where it's passed from father to son, but most of the public believes that this guy's actually been around for almost 300 years. That's
great. So you, Roger and Sal, you're on for the long haul. You guys are going to be doing more issues.
I'm on for the long haul. Roger and Sal, I can't speak for, because Sal has done a ton of work for us already.
Yeah.
More and more, I think he tends to be moving towards a well-won and laureled retirement. So and you can't begrudge a guy like Sal Buscema that. But we have a lot of material backlog by Sal that will be seeing the light of day through for the first time through this distribution system and the Diamond and everything. So people that haven't seen the work yet, when it was available on Comixology and things, will be experiencing it for the first time.
So had this already been released on Comixology?
It was on Comixology, some of the other sitcom titles as well. It had been released in a limited way, kind of test marketing and such. So, I mean, it's a lot of new materials going to be coming out for a lot of people that are, that follow in the regular comic shops in Diamond. I mean, we've had some very loyal fans already who, will be seeing some of this again, and they have to be careful about what they buy and what they don't. We don't want to, sell them something they already have.
Sure.
But the lion's share, we're very proud to finally get this major distribution through every comic shop, and getting the largest possible comics audience to see the stuff and give us feedback and let us know what we're doing right and let us know what we're doing wrong. Darren is still he's doing letter columns. He's doing editorial columns in each issue. It really feels warmer than a lot of what you're used to in comics these days. And, it's something that could be a lot of fun to get in on the ground floor of. I'm happy that I got in on the ground floor of it, So, I really am eager to get the feedback that you can only get from the public.
That's excellent, man. No, and again, I loved reading it, and it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of dynamic action, as you can tell from.
Who was your favorite character, John?
Well, I am a sucker for the patriotic heroes, so I like Blue Baron. I think he really, again, he has that Superman sort of air about him, and the responsibilities that come with being a leader, which I thought was great. I love the fact that it's you can't tell from the panels I chose, but it's a great science fiction story as well. I mean, honestly, it's just that good old fashioned feeling of either the Justice League in space or the Avengers dealing with an otherworld threat.
Yeah,
it's great, man. And again, it's that great pacing that came from the Bronze Age. So I think it's terrific, and I love the idea behind it. So I'm really glad to hear that it's an ongoing. I wasn't sure if it was a one shot with some.
Oh yeah, no, I've signed on for the duration myself. So we're gonna keep doing it as long as people are interested in seeing it.
Here's hoping. Absolutely, man. And everybody, we're I'm happy to talk about Ron's DC and Marvel work over the years as well, because Ron's had so many significant runs over amazing characters. And before we get into Marvel, I did want to ask you about Superman Red and Superman Blue, among your other Superman work. But that period always fascinated me in terms of bringing back the idea of Superman Red and Blue that was in that great imaginary story from the day.
Well, we can still tie this into the Binge book work as well, because Glenn Whitmore, our colorist, as I mentioned briefly, worked on the Superman books for years. And apparently at the Superman summits every year, long before I got there, he would pitch doing some modern take on Superman Red, Superman Blue. Because he's a colorist, I guess. I don't know. I mean, maybe he actually really enjoyed the story. I remember it vaguely from when I was a kid, so he might have been interested in the dynamics. I don't know. But anyway, when they came up with the idea for Superman's powers to shift, everybody who was working on the books at the time, myself included, were invited to do new designs for Superman's containment suit. And I wasn't going to do it because I was a new kid on the block, and I didn't think I really had anything to contribute. But one night after I was done with my regular work, sitting at the studio, I decided, well, yeah, I have a couple of little ideas. So I started playing with them, and I came up with what ended up being the electric blue Superman suit, they call it. And I said, what the heck? I like it enough. I'll send it in. The next thing I heard, there it is by John Bogdanov. Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, man.
No, that's fine. That's fine. He did a great job with it. No,
sure, he did. Yeah.
But they announced that they were going to do this. They sent me a Xerox of my sketch, and they said, this is going to be the next cover. And I said, so are we doing a month where we do covers of everybody's idea or something? And they said, no, we picked your suit. And I went, oh, my goodness. Now, I've come to learn over the years that one of the reasons that they picked my design was that it was monochromatic, that he was all shades of blue, which opened up to the idea of then we can do one that's all shades of red. So actually Glenn's constant suggestion of doing Superman Red, Superman Blue apparently played a fairly large part in them choosing my blue design so that they could do Superman red as well. So I whatever reputation or financial remuneration I got from the Superman blue character, I have to thank Glenn for, because I have a feeling that's one of the reasons they picked it.
That's so funny, and I'm glad Glenn is here. He is Captain Clockwork, as he says.
I see that. Yes, so, you suggest. I've never tried to cheat you of that, Glenn. Ever.
Glenn, congratulations. Honestly, Heroes Union is a beautiful book, and congratulations, because really the colors are so vivid. And I honestly, I really think this is a top-notch production, and I'm very happy to promote it and discuss it with everybody. So,
well, we appreciate that, John. And one of the things I've said, it's not much of a lead line, but if nothing else, you'll get a really well-told story by a team of highly trained professionals.
No, absolutely, man.
You can say I didn't like it, but you can't say it's bad, because we know what we're doing. Roger Stern, come on, this guy.
Yeah, man.
He hasn't written. I don't think he's ever written a bad story, and the guy knows what he's doing. I hand myself over all the time to writers, and Roger's one that I happily just dive in, because unfortunately, Raj and I have never had an opportunity to build anything from the ground floor together. Right.
Okay, sure.
I have never had an opportunity to co-plot with him. He co-plotted this with Darren.
Okay.
The Kid Who Collects Spider-Man was already plotted and could easily have gone to John Romita Jr. Even the miniseries we did, Hobgoblin Lives, could easily have gone to John Romita Jr. So it wasn't something that we conceived together. So I've never had the pleasure of doing that with Roger. But anytime you get a Roger plot, you can sit back and let the man, just don't screw it up, and the man's going to tell a solid story. So.
I'm so with you. No, he's bulletproof. He is one of those guys that was so comfortable in both universes and has done nothing but great stories. And again, now doing these original characters and story and stuff. No, it's fantastic.
Oh, he did a wonderful job working with Darren to give these characters individual voices, and our entree character Startup. Making you feel for her and showing her humanity along with all the superhero action. And you're right, it's a gigantic space opera to a large extent. With Darren's thing is always, let's do comic book tropes, but let's turn them on their ear a little bit. So, this very much includes that too. I don't want to give anything away, but the actual adversary in this thing is not your typical world devouring bad guy. It's a really interesting take on a lot of different subjects and a lot of different attitudes that I really enjoyed. Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree. Hey, Michelle Fife is here. It's good, man. It's been a long time, dude. Thank you for watching. He wants to know if the Heroes Union issue includes all new material and some Comixology material.
I honestly cannot speak to what has appeared on Comixology or not. I do not believe that Heroes Union includes anything from Comixology, because I think Comixology has the Sit Comics stuff that was on Comixology, I believe, has been removed for new downloads. I might be speaking out of school on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. But I do know that Heroes Union is a brand new #1. Which is can be a great starting point, but if you've been reading anything up to this point, it just flows naturally and gives you it fits into the continuity that you may already be familiar with in a way that helps create some backstory for some of the characters and everything.
Very cool, man. And here I got another. Let's see here. Henry has a good question about your Thor run. When you drew Thor inked by Joe Sinnott, that must have been a thrill. How do you like the feel that his inks brought to your pencils? His brush work is amazing. One of my favorite inkers, one of everybody's favorite inkers, Joe Sinnott.
Yeah, Henry, thrill is not the word for it. I mean, I was very lucky very early on. Joe Sinnott inked a What If I did that featured the Fantastic Four. And so he inked the figures in that and used a background man for the background. So very early on, I was blessed with feeling like a Marvel guy. And I've often said that you don't really feel like a Marvel guy until you get to pitch one to Joe Sinnott and see what he does with it. Because then you feel like you're in the room,
Yeah.
Then whether you feel like you deserve to be there or not, you feel like you're in the room with Romita and Buscema and Gene Colan and all these guys. And yes, that's the effect that Sinnott has. When he came on board Thor with issue 400, and we were just thrilled to have him for issue 400, they said, no, he's decided he wants to stay. The sky opened up and the angels sang, and I don't know what I did to deserve that kind of karma. I mean, it was incredible. And he's as good as he is as an illustrator and as an artist, as a penciler and as an inker, he was just a wonderful man. The world really is noticeably dimmer without this gentleman in it. Anybody that ever met him or spent time in a room with him feels that way. And, so yeah, it was a joy. It was an education for me. Every issue was an education for me. When you get to work with these guys that just breathe the business, you really need to open yourself up and pay attention and listen to not only what they're saying, but what they're doing and how they're doing it. And it was it was just incredible. It was an incredible blessing that I still find it hard to believe sometimes. Things like working with Joe Sinnott, actually being friends with Sal Buscema, although he may not admit it, depending on the mood you catch him. I grew up on these guys. I admired these guys as a fan. So being treated as an equal by them will never not fry my circuits. Anybody that knows me knows that's the case.
I get what you're saying. As a longtime radio broadcaster, when I would meet my heroes in broadcasting and they treated me like a parent, there's no better feeling.
I was in John Romita's office one time and he asked my opinion about something and I went blank. I just, that'll be great.
Go ahead. I was going to say, Henry wants to know some of your comic book art influences.
Well, the obvious ones. I mean, anybody that looks at my work, I think they can see. They know I've done Kirby on Thor. They know I've done Ditko on Spider-Man, and those were very real study periods for me. Because real quick, I'll go into this. Anytime I'm awarded a series, my point is to not just be the next guy in that years-long game of telephone, further and further away from what the original intention was of the character. So I go back and I study Ditko because I wanted, as much as I love John Romita and he's one of my major influences, I wanted that Ditko mystique to not be lost. That I wanted the character to move as much like Ditko as possible and things like that. For Thor, it happened a little later. I had actually done a couple of fill-ins first in my own more natural style that tends to lean more towards the Buscemas because I just learned from watching them so much of what I do. But then I started studying the Kirby, and I needed to get that in there too. I needed Thor to be Thor, not just a superhero in a red cape, and it really behooves you as a creative to go back and study that. A writer, artist, whatever you are, it used back in the day, it used to be like with Tom DeFalco and a few people past him, but real quick, if I may, Tom DeFalco wrote a book at one point for a British publisher called Creators On, and it was Creators on the Amazing Spider-Man.
I have it in my bookshelf, absolutely.
And I was lucky enough to be interviewed in it, and a couple other, several other people.
Yeah.
But it goes in chronological order from Stan Lee, up through Roy Thomas. I don't know if you've interviewed Roy Thomas. I'm kind of talking out of my butt here. But Marv Wolfman, I know, was in there. Len Wein was in there.
Everybody.
Tom and I discussed things. He discussed things with several writers, and he went all the way up through. At that point, I believe it was during the Straczynski run, and I don't think he was able to interview Straczynski, but he interviewed several other writers that were
He interviewed Bendis. I know that Bendis was.
Yeah, Bendis. There you go. So there was a division. If you read closely, there was a dividing line between two very different, subtle yet very different attitudes, and that was that Marv Wolfman, Len Wein, everybody, those writers, Dave Michelinie, J.M. DeMatteis, all those guys, they talked about how important it was to read the old Stan Lee stuff and get Peter Parker's voice right. And as writers, as craftsmen, it was the most important thing in the world to them to get Peter Parker's voice correct for the consistency of the character, not continuity, consistency. But at some point there's a dividing line in those interviews where it then becomes how excited they were to show the world their Peter Parker.
Sure.
And again, whether or not that's something you agree with or don't agree with, or you love a certain writer past that certain point, God love you. It's not necessarily a value judgment. It's an observation of how different craftspeople approach these characters. And, it's something for me that, I was lucky enough to work on Spider-Man with DeFalco. We used to have hours-long conversations on the phone about who Peter Parker was, who this guy was, how he felt about things, based on what we had already read, what we already knew about the character, and all this, and making sure that he acted like the guy we knew. Even when we did the black costume material, the most important thing in the world to us was for this not to change the tone of the series, because the series is Peter Parker in a suit. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a costume that Peter Parker wears.
Absolutely.
But every issue is about Peter Parker, depending on what clothes he's wearing.
Yes.
When we did the black costume, what was important for us was for the book not to take a science fiction left turn and have it be about Peter reacting to all the weird things that this costume can do, and finding out through Pete what ended up being what was the story, and having Pete react in character to finding out from Reed Richards what exactly was going on, and on and on and on. So there is a slight difference, an apples and oranges type of thing with certain approaches to these long-lived characters, and that's been my observation. But
I get it.
What's really cool is with these new characters, Darren's kind of the final arbiter of who these guys are in his head, but he's also playing with other writers. He's inviting other writers into play, and he's willing to let these characters grow organically, depending on who's working on them and what the circumstances are and all this kind of stuff, which is always what's fun about working on new characters as well.
Understood. Man, we're getting really good questions about various Marvel runs. And Henry wants to know if Ross Andru was an influence on your Spider-Man work.
Yes, in many, 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 many ways. Not just the idea, the concept, and the truth that New York City must be a character in the book, whether I'm working off a photo reference or not. That was very much, nobody was better or even as good as Ross Andru in making New York City a character in that title. But he really, brought his own quirkiness to the way Pete moves without violating anything that Ditko had established. And so, yeah, I found myself being very influenced by, I was lucky enough to work on the book when Pete had that apartment in Chelsea with his cigar store Indian and the swordfish up on the wall. And so I had all my Ross Andru reference in front of me. And then the other thing that was kind of odd is I went through a period on where the Essentials were coming out, and I had my Ross Andru volumes of the Essentials because he was on the book for so long. Wonderful stuff with different writers. And I had them in front of me when I was doing Spider-Girl because it was an interesting little thing. And this is not a criticism of Mr. Andru at all, and I don't want anybody to take it as such. But some of the movement in Spider-Man with Ross was balletic. He would have Spider-Man pointing his toes and things like that. And I found myself using that approach for Spider-Girl.
For me, yeah.
And it was working great. I mean,
sure.
So if you're a student of Ross Andru's Spider-Man, you can find a lot of, I did a lot of swipes just for the sake of my own love of Ross Andru in Spider-Girl, from some Spider-Man material. And, I tend to do swipes just as a celebration of my own love of the form. I'm rarely, if ever, trying to get away with anything. I've had people online, try to like out me, and I will always just go, "Oh yeah, you got that? Yeah." Because I hope people notice it because whether I'm doing something that calls back the old Spider-Man cartoon or another illustrator that was on Spider-Man, be it Keith Pollard or John Romita or Steve Ditko. It's not a secret, guys. I'm not trying to get away with anything. I'm hoping you can celebrate that with me. And if you can't, I get that too. But that it's done out of my own fandom and not a need to get away with something.
It's consistency, just like you said earlier. No question, man. Sala wants to know if you have any insights on why Mayday Parker is nowhere to be seen in either the animated or live-action Marvel movies to date, or even the comics aside from Earth X.
Because people are stupid. So.
Man, go on. And I'll give you an.
I don't know. It has to. I mean, part of it is the new and the shiny. Spider-Gwen came along, and it's a neat character design. I can't deny it's a neat character design.
Sure.
But it baffles me sometimes too. I think the biggest thing is the thing that actually made her a success for 13 years in the comics, the legacy as aspect of her character.
No question.
The fact that Pete and Mary Jane were characters in the book, I mean, we would occasionally have editors come in and say, kill Pete, kill Mary Jane, give her tragedy. And it's like, no.
That wasn't.
You don't want to do that because that's one of the reasons that people are reading this. It's about family. It's about legacy. And we had young readers who related to May. We had a large contingent of female readers. We had a large contingent of young readers, but then we also had the 40s and 50-year-olds who were finally saying, Peter Parker aged with me. I get this, that kind of thing. And so, I mean, we had the best of both worlds, and it was a beautiful, beautiful run. The fans of the Spider-Girl title are the best on the planet. I'd meet them at conventions. We've dealt with them online. They ran these campaigns to save the book. They're smart. They didn't complain to Marvel. They went to the retailers and they solicited the retailers and said this book has a base, a groundswell base of fan support. You support the book, we'll support you. They're amazing people. They're amazing, compassionate, loving people that it just makes me proud to have been able to entertain them for as long as we did,
Honestly, Ron, truly, you and Tom and your fan base it was incredible. And it's funny, Mark Waid was on a couple of days ago, and we were talking about how the DC upstairs, the executives didn't understand the appeal of the Legion. And 5 years later, when Giffen took over writing the book, co-writing the book, co-plotting the book. And the same goes for Spider-Girl, because I know it began as part of that I forget what it was called, MC2?
MC2, yeah.
MC2. Yeah. But again, everybody loved the idea, and no disrespect, because I understand executives have their way they want to go. But it's like, don't kill this incredible book. And like you said, the fans would insist on, no, we're not done with May.
Right.
Please, we want more May stories. They capitulated because they had no choice.
There was a wonderful website early on that was one of the early fan sites, Spider-Girl message board. And there was actually a contingent of fans on the Spider-Girl message board that had contacted Tom DeFalco and myself, and they wanted to fund it. They wanted to fund the book. And Tom said, no, we can't let you do that. No, we can't let you do that. But they were willing to not just pay for the book every month, but to fund the production of the book,
upfront money.
To see these stories continue. And oh my God, that was so humbling and so intimidating. I mean, you don't really want your fans becoming your bosses. But at the same time, I mean, it touched our hearts. And we realized this is really, I meet adults now that read it when they were kids and related to the characters. And, it's still something that we've been very lucky with that. All I can say, John, is when I look over my career, and a lion's share of it has been with Tom, and I make no apologies for that. I think the fun we're having, the joy that we feel in creating and telling these stories and trying to entertain, I think to some degree it comes through on the page because, we've been a part of some, our Spider-Man run was only 2.5 years, thanks to fate. Thor was longer. Thor was like 7 years. Spider-Girl, he and Pat Olive did it for the first half of the run, and then I came in for the second half of the run and some of the extensions. But Thunderstrike is still a character that he was published for 2 years. He died at the end of the series. I still have people coming to me at conventions talking about how bring Eric back. I know he's dead. Bring him back. And we did this mini-series a few years ago because even somebody at Marvel, the guy that was in charge of trade paperbacks or something, said, I wouldn't mind seeing a Thunderstrike mini-series. So we did, we struggled with whether or not to bring Eric back, but we had Kevin right there as we had used him in MC2, and we did a 616 version of Kevin. And it didn't sell well enough to go to series. It would have been great if it had. But, I also found out that most of our Thunderstrike fans didn't know it was being published.
Wow.
When I tell them that there's a 5-issue miniseries out there of Kevin, they're hearing it for the first time. So there's only so much you can do when it comes to that kind of stuff,
Sure.
But it's the popularity of Thunderstrike with a very passionate fan base always amazes me. I mean, they just did an action figure of Eric.
Oh, that's great.
And it was like, what? I mean, occasionally I'll find T-shirts with Eric as Thunderstrike on. Just recently, because of that one picture of Chris Hemsworth from Thor: Love and Thunder with the sleeveless leather jacket.
Yeah.
People were doing articles about it and whether or not this means they're going to do the Thunderstrike mace or whatever. And I don't know. That's way above my pay grade. But it's wonderful that they're still talking about this character all these years later after a 2-year run. He hasn't turned up. Nobody else has brought him back. That's one of the reasons we decided he should sacrifice himself, because we didn't want Eric Masterson hanging around the Avengers and somebody deciding, as Tom put it, we don't want somebody turning him into Banana Man or something.
Right, D-Man. Like D-Man.
That kind of thing. At that point, they were going through all the different variations of Hank Pym, that kind of thing. And
sure.
We don't want him to become Hank Pym like Hank was for a few years there,
I'm so with you. No. How long ago was that miniseries?
How long ago was the miniseries? It was like almost 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was 2010, 2011, something like that.
Okay.
We were really happy with it. It was Tom, me, and Sal Buscema, and our colorist from Spider-Girl, Bruno Hang. We were thrilled to have a chance to do it. We basically, Tom and I approached it because even Kevin was even a very popular character in the MC2 books and A Next. And what we decided to do was everywhere we went right with the MC2 Kevin, we went left with the 616 Kevin. And ultimately, I would have loved to have done a multiversal thing where 616 Kevin walks into his parents' apartment and there's somebody standing there in the shadows and it's MC2 Kevin, it's MC2 Thunderstrike, saying, "I need your help," that kind of thing.
Sure. I'm trying to see if Kevin is in or if Eric's in the. No, he's not in this image, unfortunately.
No, that was just that Thor interview thing they were doing for Marvel 1000.
Yeah, no, that was great. Again, that's why I picked it. And like
we were flattered out. That again was inked by Brett Breeding, and it was colored by, I think it was a gentleman named Matt Yackey, but I'm not sure. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think that was Matt's work. And it's a beautiful piece. I mean, everybody just knocked it out of the park. But yeah, they were doing this thing with this unseen interviewer interviewing all the characters. So it was basically Tom and I taking our last shot at kind of talking about why Thor does what he does. That kind of.
Sure. Henry agrees with you that the swipes are an homage. Absolutely. But Thor versus Juggernaut, Thor versus Thor, Thunderstrike versus Blood Axe. Were those covers based on Kirby's Thor versus Hercules?
Every single one of them. Kirby's the root of everything, so I'm not going to apologize for that.
Sure.
But, yeah, in much the same way that Walt did the Beta Ray Bill cover, and I used that twice. I used that for the advent of Blood Axe, and I used it when Eric picked up the Blood Axe. There are these. They give you information. They give the reader information. That, okay, something's going on here. With Blood Axe, I wanted it to be, this is an Asgardian weapon. Somebody new has claimed an Asgardian weapon. So I went with that. And for Eric picking up the axe, it was, the same thing. It was, this is serious stuff. In fact, I believe the cover copy was "Things Just Got Ugly." But yeah, I mean that's why we do these things. They help send a signal of whether it's classic Marvel, whether it's specifically that illustrator, whether it's an era of Marvel, whether it's a character. You want people to respond, and I'm happy that there are people out there that do respond to those things. Absolutely,
I think I'm that last generation that read comics and then hitting college age. Couldn't afford comics when I was, scraping by early career and stuff. And seeing Eric was like, hey, what happened to Thor? And then, getting the explanation of the story. It's like, oh, no, that's Eric Masterson. That's Thunderstrike. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. So May and Eric really were my favorite MC2 characters, creations and stuff. So
well, that's the thing. I mean, Eric was not – we created Eric for Thor because we decided to try this thing with, bonding him with a human and bring him back a secret identity, but we didn't want to go back to Don Blake. Tom DeFalco was almost pathological about let's move forward, not back. He's a shark. He's a creative shark. He must move forward. And so we came up with Eric Masterson. And, lo and behold, we kept him in the book as a supporting character for a couple of years before we actually bonded them. We bonded them. People loved Eric. We got to the end of the run where where Thor was back and all this kind of stuff. And the sales department approached Tom DeFalco at Marvel and said, we understand you're wrapping up the Eric Masterson bonding thing. And he said, yeah. And he said, they said, what are your plans with Eric? And he said, well, Eric's not going to make it out alive. And they said, ooh, no. We were thinking about giving Eric his own book.
Wow.
Because he's very, very popular.
Yeah.
And we'd like to spin him off. And Tom said, what would that look like? And they said, well, that's for you to decide. So, we decided to not go too far afield. And, it wasn't that big of a left turn, but we wanted to ground him a little bit more. But the same thing happened with Spider-Girl. We did the Spider-Girl one-shot in What If. And, it didn't sell like Amazing Fantasy 15, but it sold better than most What Ifs around that time.
Yes.
That Marvel noticed. And I had done concept drawings of older Pete and older Mary Jane and all this kind of stuff just for the one shot. And Bob Herrick was the editor-in-chief at the time at Marvel, and he approached DeFalco and said, "So I understand you have this pitch for you want to do a Spider-Girl book." And Tom went, "What? No, it was a one shot." And he goes, "Well, the Frenz did all these character sketches," and he goes, "Yeah, I know. He's anal. He did that for the one shot." But they said, "No, we're interested in maybe doing 3 titles in the MC2 universe." And the original plan was they were supposed to be in those 3 packs of comics that in like major distribution centers, like, you know, Walmart and things like that. That was the original plan for MC2. And frankly, the sales department bobbled it because it never ended up happening. But that was the original marketing intent for the MC2 books, which is why they were new generation, fresh takes where you could come in on the ground floor and you didn't need the continuity and such. You know,
that's interesting that they like, because I mean, again, you and I grew up with like the old Whitman three comic bagged.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, that was great because that's how we all learned about Hellstorm and then some of these other like mid-tier characters that you wouldn't necessarily buy on your own, but you saw in the plastic bag. All right, there's a Spider-Man and an Avengers comic, and they throw in, you know, Damian Hellstorm in the middle.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a really the original idea. I thought was really cool, and I would have loved to have seen how it would have played out, but it never happened. Apparently, nobody in the Marvel sales department ever made the appropriate phone calls or closed the appropriate deal. You know.
And Michelle Fife is back with another interesting question. How far did you and Tom's pitch for Daredevil go post Born Again? Wondering what a full series would have been like. Yeah, man, that's for everyone that doesn't remember, Frank Miller essentially ended the Daredevil story with Born Again, and he and Karen are plain clothes and walking around Hell's Kitchen as the story ended. I know that Ann Nesenti came on right afterwards and stuff. Right. But yeah, I mean, essentially, was your pitch?
It never got that far. It never got that far. There was never, as far as I know, Tom never made a formal pitch to Ralph. But you know, we were, you know, Ralph was aware of our work, and it was during that time that we did the 2 Thor fill-ins. And those were basically done to show Ralph that we're team players, and we were interested in that. I did a presentation piece. I did a pinup of Daredevil for Ralph that he had hanging in his office for a while.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, the only thing I can imagine were discussions where that Tom wanted to do the street level stuff with, you know, gangsters and bad guys and keep Daredevil. You know, I think we would have gone lighter coming off of the Miller run.
Sure.
I think Daredevil would have smiled a little bit more because that's just who we are, you know, that kind of thing. And he had left Matt in a good headspace. So
yes,
I don't think we would have, you know, wrecked his life again or anything like that. But I as far as I know, there was no formal pitch between DeFalco and Macchio. There was the pinup, and we were doing the Thor fill-ins. And when we got to the end of the second Thor fill-in, Ralph contacted Tom and said, "I got a book for you." And he goes, "Daredevil, right?" And he went, "No, Thor." And Tom went, I can't do Thor. And he goes, you just did 2 issues. What are you talking about? And because Tom wasn't really comfortable with Cosmic.
Interesting.
You know, coming off of Spider-Man, he wanted to stay with, you know, Rose level characters,
sure,
you know, characters like the Rose and gangsters. And that was always one of my favorite Daredevil venues too, is him bouncing around like a pinball, taking out guys in sharkskin suits, you know, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure that would have been very much the tone of the book had we been awarded it. But yeah, I mean, Tom said, I don't know if I can do Cosmic. And he said, you just did 2 issues of Thor. He asked me about it. And I said, Tom, I'm sorry. I'm a big Kirby Buscema fan. If they're offering us Thor, let's take it. And DeFalco's way of, you know, testing himself was to dive in with both feet in the deep end. And we did the War of the Pantheons and the Alone Against the Celestials right out of the gate. You know, he figured if I can't do it, let's find out fast, you know, and he's a pro. He's a total pro. So
honestly, man, no, Tom is one of those writers.
Yeah.
Put him in any genre, he will knock out an amazing story. When he was at Archie, I was loving what he was doing at Archie as well.
I got to do 3 Jughead stories with him.
Oh, that's great.
And an April Fool's special with Reggie. And I loved it. I mean, I was talking to the Archie editor, talking about how, to me, as growing up as a kid, it was always the big 3, not the big 2. And I'm thrilled to be working on the Archie characters. And I got the impression he thought I was BSing him, I mean, I'm serious, man. This is a big thrill for me,
Hey, literally, my favorite, like, you'd never expect this coming from this creator, but Ed Brubaker has told me if I could choose my own retirement, I would literally be writing Jughead stories and be very, very happy.
There you go.
Archie really did mine so many great Marvel creators. Al Milgrom was over there. Tom was over there. You were over there.
Yeah, I just like the ones that I did. Yeah.
So
and also, Jack Morelli's over there as a production guy and a letterer, and he's one of the best in the business. I mean, the guy's incredible. I'm a huge fan of Jack Morelli's work, and he's over there cranking for them too. And yeah, I mean, the three Jughead stories we did. One brought back Captain Hero because
fantastic. I love Captain.
There's that. But the other 2 were like really big-hearted tearjerkers. One involved Jughead's little sister, and one was his bond with Hot Dog. And both of them I was so thrilled to be there. I was told I was putting too much detail in the background, things like that. It's like, this is Archie, so Al was helping me, was kind of helping to balance some of the pencils against the finished product, because they were also being produced for the digests. There was new material for the digest. So but I loved it. I could be happy working on Archie stories with DeFalco for the rest of my days as well. I mean, they're great characters. They really are.
Fife hopes that you guys are going to be hitting conventions with this new book.
For me, I know Darren's going to be doing shows. For me, I'm going to be doing some shop appearances for the release on August 4th. But I'm not really planning on doing any real traveling or doing any real shows until 2022. I'm just kind of going to wait and see how things go. The idea of staying in hotels and traveling on planes and everything, I'm a devout coward. So I'm gonna wait and see how the Canary does before I make any move.
I so understand, man, and yeah, I think a lot of people are just like, let's let everything normalize a little bit more before we dive in head first. I can appreciate that.
Well, that's the thing. If people want to make fun of me, please feel free. We'll watch it come across the screen, but I don't care because I'm just going to be safe.
No, I don't blame you, man. What area are you based in?
I'm in Pittsburgh, right outside.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. I'm a hop, skip, and a jump from downtown Pittsburgh.
I keep meaning to go there. I've got several friends that live out there, so
you're right.
Eventually, I'll be in your neck of the woods. So that'll
it'll be when indoor restaurants are all open again and all that kind of stuff, and we can grab lunch or something.
That would be great. Sal, I'll answer your question because we've already covered this. There are future binge book titles down the road. We mentioned that earlier, but for everyone who is just joining us, because
absolutely
the numbers keep ticking up. So
multiple titles, and several issues are already in the can. So there's plenty out there. There's going to be a lot of entertainment coming.
Leandro is enjoying the conversation. Well, Leandro, this will be up on YouTube, for posterity as soon as we finish. So come back and catch the rest of the conversation.
Thanks for watching, Leandro. It's appreciated.
Absolutely. And Steve Commander is joining us. And that's funny. I was going to ask about New Warriors next. Did you help come up with the New Warriors roster and designs with Tom?
Yes, I helped. I co-design. I helped design Night Thrasher.
Okay.
Yes, I was responsible for that awful red costume that everybody makes fun of that Nova wore for those first few issues. That was my idea. So I have to take the bullet for that one. From what I understand, Bagley hated it. Everybody hated it. But yeah, that was from me. It was Tom put the team together. And I mean, everybody else, we just kind of kept them where they were. Night Thrasher was really the only one that had to be designed from the ground up. And I decided to put Nova in red because there was a Marvel Boy had blue, and Speedball had blue, and all this kind of stuff. So I figured, let's get some more red in there.
Yeah, I like the. No, I like that Nova design. That's pretty cool.
Oh, you don't have to say that, John. It's okay.
No, it is.
Big boy, I can take criticism. I was thinking Ray Spannon. I was thinking all kinds of different things, and I didn't think it looked too bad, but I've been told it looked awful. So I will bow to the majority opinion. So there you go.
I'm with Stephen Commander. Marvel Boy is one of my favorite characters.
Well, I didn't screw him up anyway. That was the Dave Cockrum design from Advance Astro. So I wasn't going to mess with that.
And there you go. And Stephen also liked Kid Nova's costume too. There you go, man.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen. I recognize that name from Facebook.
Oh, there you go. Very good, man. Yeah, Stephen's a regular viewer here on Word Balloon, so I always appreciate his comments as well. I want to rifle through again more of these sketches that you've done, because these are just great. Look at that, Spider-Woman and Ms. Marvel. I miss Ms. Marvel. I mean, I'm so for her getting promoted to Captain Marvel, but as I told Kelly Sue DeConnick, I'm like, I got to tell you, I like the blonde bombshell, and it was awesome because here I'm even gonna put this back up because I love her explanation. I'm like, I love the blonde bombshell. Am I sexist? Am I misogynist? She's like, no, I like it too, but she's like, let's say there's a superhero funeral, and everybody is there, head down, looking very, respectful and stuff, and there's Ms. Marvel in her onesie and her thigh highs, and I'm like, all right, I get it, it's fine.
Yeah, if you've seen people cosplay it, it's very distracting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a Cockrum outfit. So, you got Dave Cockrum. I mean, it ties right into what we were saying about Marvel Boy using Vance Astro's design. Those designs are flawless. I mean, that guy really knew his business.
Oh, my God.
I followed Legion under him, and every month he was introducing a new look for some Legionnaire. It's just amazing. Well,
and in fact, I have some of your Legion sketches. And again,
yeah.
Well, as I always say, Ron, and literally, again, I was talking to Mark the other night because he was the editor during that 5 years later period with Keith Giffen and all. Yeah. But there were two doors in the 70s. There was the X-Men door and the Legion door, and I went through the Legion door very happily. And I mean, I appreciate the X-Men, but I am a longtime Legion fan. So seeing Dream Girl, seeing Night Girl among your designs and stuff, these are fantastic.
Apparently, the entire 30th century is all around a pool.
It's so. Hey,
they're all bathing suits. I didn't design any of those.
Tyrock.
In fact, we had this one. It was this one customer that would come to the website for commissions, and he was collecting every permutation of every costume, even if a costume was colored differently in an issue. Then he wanted it from somebody. He was getting them from Pat Olive. He was getting them from me. He was getting them from a lot of people. And I was constant for months and months and months. We were happy to help him on his quest, but never. I don't think once did I get any of the Cockrum designs or any of the original Kurt Swan designs that I would have loved, because that's when I was a big Legion fan.
Sure.
Instead, I was being sent, reference from like very odd. Well, I did do a series of the Keith Giffen designs, which were more dark future leather and padded jackets and all that kind of stuff. And I enjoyed some of those. But I mean, I was John Forte, Kurt Swan, Dave Cockrum, and then Mike Rell, Jim Sherman, and then I started to kind of fall away from it. My brother was a huge Legion fan all the way up through all the Giffen stuff and everything. So he was more the expert. But it was interesting seeing some of the different designs, and I all due respect to the illustrators who have been tasked to do it, nobody has ever beaten Wildfire's original design by Cockrum. Sorry. you can't fix perfect, you know?
I'm with you, man. No, and again, I'm so with you too on the Silver Age, like Kurt Swan original Legion designs when Otto Binder was writing the stories and stuff. No, that stuff was fantastic, and that's kind of one of my as I'm rifling through cheaper. They're not dollar boxes anymore, but wherever I can find reader copies of Silver Age Legion, I'm always very happy because those.
I bought a couple of the volumes, of showcase volumes that had that the later Kurt Swan run when Jim Shooter was writing and doing layouts and stuff, and that's fantastic stories, wonderful stuff.
Have artists come to you and said, you know, God, your designs really inspired me? Can you think of some acolytes that have followed the Ron Frenz design?
No, there at one point there was a website that would show designs that they didn't think I would be able to draw. It was somehow named after the Ron Frenz design ethic or something, because my design ethic is to keep it as simple as possible. I basically design for animation in the same way that you would for animation, because if you have to draw it hundreds and hundreds of times, you know, it doesn't mean it's not fun to draw. I mean, I love drawing Jack of Hearts. I think he's a great looking character. But yeah, you know, I did a Marvel team up with him early on, and you know, you get a little tired of it. Yeah, you know. So there are a bunch of George Perez designs that would be a little much for me. You know, some of the new designs now where they use the computer to complete the design. You know, like the whole design is putting it in the computer and processing it and putting these lines. You know, that's nuts. That's crazy. You know, but we're also losing track of the fact that one of the cool things about comics was the beauty of the human body in motion.
Agreed.
And, you know, that's why the characters have skin tight costumes, because we're drawing, you know, the human figure in motion. Now, that's perfect design. John Romita kicked it out of the park with that one. That's just incredible.
I'm with you, man.
No, but the design, you know, I actually complained on Facebook because my thing with that design is the diagonal zipper sells it. It's not just a black costume. The diagonal zipper is what makes it unique and cool and different. And everybody's lost that because it's more important to see cleavage than it is to have a really cool design element. You know? No, but that's not what the suit would be. You know, I mean, it's, you know, she can pull the zipper down. You're just going to see some skin right there. You know, how about that, fanboys?
Hilarious. By the way, speaking of cleavage, you got Sue Storm here, and obviously this is a commission. First of all, I love the Namor Sue Storm dynamic, and I think it can really work in so many interesting story ways. But also, yeah, I'll be honest, this was during that period as far as the look of Sue, where I remember coming back going, "Wow, what's Sue wearing these days?"
And why was she wearing it, John?
Didn't she become Malice or whatever?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I see these fans on Facebook that never read; they just comment, and everybody talks about, you know, her hooker look and all this kind of stuff. you were as readers, you were supposed to go, "What the hell is going on with Susie that she would wear that?" And then the stories answered that question. You know,
absolutely, man.
So it's hilarious to me. Well, it's always hilarious to me that, you know, they look at Thunderstrike and they talk about the shoulder pads in women's clothes or his mullet or something. Come on, guys.
Well, it's like how
we would like to be timeless, but occasionally we make the mistake of doing something that is from the era that books were published in, and sometimes it comes back and bites us on the butt.
No, I get it. You know, honestly, man. Again, a couple of days ago, I was talking to Howard Chaykin, and we were talking about his new series, that United States of Dysteria or whatever, and I'm
right. Yeah.
And you know, it had that very controversial cover with a terrorist having an American flag face, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Howard Chaykin, he's a raving conservative," and it's like, no, no. And if you had read inside the book, you'd get a better explanation. But again, people, well, you know, this is the problem. Covers are meant to be provocative and elicit an emotion, and for you to say what the hell's going on with Susie and the like.
Well, to a degree, I completely agree with you. But by the same token, we're a bunch of knee jerks these days. I mean, the social media has made it so easy for people to respond before they have any idea of context or backstory or anything. And it's amazing to me how often people are just typing before they read. I've had people ask questions that were answered right a little further up in the thread is the answer to your question. So I don't think me rude, but I'm not going to answer it again. Okay, because it's right up there.
No, I understand, man. Totally. Here, Henry was asking what are your favorite character designs that you did, and he likes Puma, I guess, Blood Axe, Quicksand.
Well, Quicksand was kind of a cheat, but yeah. No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Puma, the original design was there's a gentleman I go to who did some work for Marvel in the 80s and 90s, the late 80s and the early 90s, a gentleman named Richard Januszewski, who was a good friend of mine from art school. And he has a great eye for design. And it behooves illustrators from time to time to get out of your own comfort zone and change things up. That's why working with Darren, as we talked about earlier, has really helped me break out of some bad habits where I'm always doing the same type of thing. I still try to keep it simple. I still try to keep it designed in a way that pleases my eye, that kind of thing. But you don't want to be doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so usually, I will contact Yan, and Yan came up with a lot of the design elements of the original Puma look. And the only reason I changed it was because the colors that were chosen for that costume confused what was costume and what was his fur. He was a furry character, and these plumes on his shoulders should have been red. They should have been obviously costume, and they weren't. So things just started to get a little out of control. Plus the fact that he's a guy that turns into a were-puma. That pretty much sells the character. So I decided to kind of pare the costume down. And I wasn't happy with him being, a deep blue, blue-green, because pumas are characters that are out in the sun in the desert, that kind of thing. So I wanted to go with warmer colors and everything. So if depending on which costume you're talking about, thank you, Rich Januszewski deserves a lot of credit, but he didn't come up with the coloring either. And if it was the secondary costume, then thank you. Yes, I really like that too, and I enjoy drawing it to this day.
Now, I don't believe you ever drew this beyond the commission, but I got to show you. I love these 3 shots of Robin, and especially, dude, I am so with you. Obviously, and especially given that it's the biggest character, that goofy, kind of weird Batman costume that Robin had during the late Silver Age.
Right.
This is obviously Earth 2 Robin from. I
think that was the request. They sent me the reference and everything. The issue was the Neil Adams costume at the bottom.
Yes,
originally had a very unique cape that was only done sometimes, and some people lost it, and I lost it because the reference I had didn't show it clearly enough. Okay. So I'm afraid I didn't do the cape of that costume justice. But yeah, overall, they're all really strong designs. Really, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, but I mean, I remember the middle one you were talking about from a beautiful JSA double-page pinup that was done by Murphy Anderson, and and they used to find things out and then go, I wonder what the story on that is, and then you go try to find out.
Absolutely, no question, man. No, and they would show up in those great JLA, JSA team-ups and stuff.
Crossovers,
so,
right?
Yeah, that's so funny. All right, yeah, Steven's never seen that before. That's cool. Well, again, man, that's why I was kind of going through Ron's stuff, and I kept coming across these amazing commissions that you've done over the years. Here, there's Silver Sable. That
was actually one of the conceptual drawings when we were putting the character together.
Wow.
And then I used that outfit for the Marvel Universe shot, Handbook of the Marvel Universe.
Sure.
And I get commission requests to this day, still using that costume, that's still using that outfit.
Oh man, I mean, was there a blonde actress in mind? I mean, it's got that Marilyn Monroe feel, obviously.
Actually, the young woman I was involved with at the time was a huge Marilyn Monroe fan and had this big coffee table book of Marilyn Monroe photos and everything. So yeah, my two contributions were that I saw her as being, barely over 5 feet tall, because I love drawing her with the big mercenaries giving them orders and stuff,
Sure.
Big 6 foot, 7 foot guys. And so she's actually shorter than Spider-Man in the original stories. Spidey's 5'10", so she was even shorter than Spider-Man. And all of her mercenaries were taller than Spider-Man, that was one thing. And the Maryland thing with the beauty mark, it just felt European to me. If you look closely on that sketch, I also made her platinum blonde. I put yellows in her hair because I was concerned that we had the black cat in the strip at the time who had white hair. So I said, well, how can I show it to be silver and be different? And I hadn't come up with anything at that point. So I said, well, maybe we'll go with platinum blonde. But the editorial overruled me on that and said, no, she's silver sable. She's going to have silver hair. And of course, they were right. So.
I understand. Fife says, yeah, and I agree. Your Facebook archive of your commissions, bonafide treasure trove. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Ron, another reason why I'm showing all these things are, they are such beautiful commissions. What's the best way for people to get commissions from you?
Oh yeah, these are all ideas from the commissioners themselves. I work through CatskillComics.com. A gentleman named Scott Kress runs the website. He's been a boon to my career, and I love working with him. And it's been a joy. It really has.
Excellent, man. No, this is amazing. Both the black and white ones and the color ones that I grabbed as well. So no, really, really great stuff, and that's great to hear. And also, man, hey, again, as we said up top, congratulations on the new book, Heroes Union. It's coming out in a couple weeks, and I hope to have audio conversations with Roger Stern and Sal Buscema as well. But this is a great opportunity to talk to you and about this great stuff, and walk down memory lane as well.
I'm not sure. I think pre-orders close on the 18th, so there may still be time to call your local comic shop and pre-order it. But regardless, it hits the racks on August 4th. But I know how tough it can be sometimes to just find something on the racks without knowing it's coming out. I'm going to be doing some shop appearances in the Pittsburgh area during that on August 4th and the surrounding time. And I know Darren Henry is going to be doing some shop appearances. I don't know who else we've been able to include. I think Chris Nye, the other inker, is doing some shop appearances. And so we're going to be out and about, and we are very, very interested in feedback. So, if you can pick up this issue, find your way clear to pick up this issue and let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we're doing wrong. We're just trying to entertain some folk.
And I love, too, that in the upper right-hand corner, people may not have noticed it, but there's the Comics Code Authority.
Yeah, apparently the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund has the rights to that. And Darren has, cut a deal with them to use it. And I've already seen some people pushing back on Facebook going, why would you deliberately leave yourself open to outside censorship? And
no.
The Comics Code Authority was never outside censorship. That was something that the comics industry created themselves to weather the storm after the Kefauver hearings.
That's right, and the Wortham
years. And the Wortham testimonies and all that kind of stuff. So, but it was always within the industry. It was always, it's famously Stan skipped the stamp on some issues of Spider-Man because he got a request from the federal government to do some stories on the dangers of drug abuse. And he decided to do it. And the people in charge at that time of going through the material said, well, this is violating our standards. And he said, I don't care. And they still went to press without the stamp. And that made even the internal comics code rethink their standards. So a few months later, a few years later, we had the famous Green Lantern, Green Arrow stories that were even more graphic as far as dealing with the dangers of drug abuse.
Right. Speedy shooting up with the syringe right there on the cover.
Exactly. I mean, I was, and I was I was the perfect age at that point. I was 10, 11, 12 at that age, and just loving all of this stuff. But the bottom line is, if the Comics Code Authority stamp makes one concerned parent more comfortable with this, with buying this for a kid, because we want to include kids. These are all ages stories. It's ridiculous to me to create superhero fiction that children can't read. The entire field is based on, kids' power fantasies of the good guys win and the bad guys lose. And yes, the characters can have feet of clay, but everything has been geared mostly because of the price point. Everything's been geared towards adult readership. And, if we lose the kids, then what is the point, really? So that's what I love. That's what I appreciate so much about the Marvel movies, is that the Marvel movies are interested in not just entertaining the existing Marvel fan base, but they're interested in entertaining the widest possible audience. We are interested in Marvel in the 80s. We were interested in we still had the newsstand. We were interested in entertaining the widest possible audience. If that stamp in the corner helps us do that, then I am all for it, and I think it's a great idea. And I hope the parent and the kid read the book together,
Yeah, I do know.
Maybe you'll get a new favorite character out of the mix.
Well, and again, the reason why I'm bringing Salah's comment back up, too, is this first issue, 64 pages, only $4.99, and that's a great value. And like you said, it's safe entertainment to hook a kid into the comics medium. I agree with you. The Marvel movies, the Marvel cartoons have never been better. And again, I with apologies to our classic era of enjoying the Marvel superheroes cartoon of the 60s and the Spider-Man Ralph Bakshi stuff. And
I was the season before Ralph Bakshi, that stuff was my mother's milk. That's how I discovered the character.
Yeah, Greenway.
It's always going to be part of my personal nostalgia for the character. Yeah,
I'm with you, man. No, and again, that was well before I was buying comics. When I was a 4-year-old kid, that was my first exposure to the Marvel universe, the Spider-Man cartoon and the Marvel superheroes. So yeah,
that's it.
Absolutely, man. Well, congratulations, dude. Honestly, Heroes Union is amazing looking. Linkovich wants to let you know that he loved New Warriors. New Warriors 7 was the first comic he bought off the newsstand at a 10. I love the adult themes, Night Thrasher, Bengal, and the Punisher.
Well, we couldn't have asked for a better team to take over the title, to do the title. We introduced the characters in 2 issues of Thor, and then Fabian Nicieza and Mark Bagley were chosen to develop it in the series. And my God, that first couple of years of that I was really following it closely were just incredible work. Just beautifully done. We couldn't have done any better ourselves. So I'm glad you enjoyed that stuff. Thank you.
That's awesome. Final question from Henry. Any characters on books that you would have liked to have drawn but didn't get the chance?
Captain America.
Marvel? Oh, that'd be great. Sure.
I would have loved, Tom DeFalco and I would have loved to have done a run on Captain America. In fact, at one point it looked like it could happen, but we were working on Thunderstrike at the time, and Thunderstrike was a labor of love. We had created the character from the ground up, and I had concerns about being able to do 2 books a month and maintaining quality and stuff.
Sure.
So I had to pass on it. I did do covers for a run on Captain America because it was all out of Ralph Macchio's office at the time. So at one point he was editing, it seemed like everything, because I was doing, I guess it was while I was doing Thor and Thunderstrike, I was doing Fantastic Four covers for a while and Captain America covers for a while. And I was doing Marvel Saga when it first started. I was doing the covers and the extra artwork and things. So, I had a wonderful time working at Marvel and being a Marvel guy. And then being invited to work on Superman was, it's like that really says you must be doing something right. You know, I mean, I got the phone call from Mike Carlin right when I needed to, right when Thunderstrike was wrapping up. He heard Thunderstrike was wrapping up because he was devoutly opposed to poaching talent. But when he heard that I might be available, he called and offered me the opportunity. I had done 2 annuals before that. So yeah, it's been a beautiful ride. I am the luckiest guy on the planet, no doubt.
Well, thank God, you know, well, the work proves that it wasn't luck, man. And I'm glad that you got the opportunities to work on as many characters as you have. Steve says, yeah, man, the whole MC2 line, one of my favorite alternate universe stories. Agreed. And also, yeah, man, people need to go to your Facebook and check out those commissions. And then again, remind people the studio that or where you're selling your commissions these days.
It's CatskillComics.com. One word, CatskillComics.com. It's easy to find. It's a really easy website to manage. If you have any problems, you can private message me, or you can email Scott Kress, the guy that runs it, and we can walk you through the process. But yeah, it's easy. It's easy. All of these that you're seeing most of them are 9x12, on Bristol board, done with markers and all this. I also work 11x17. We do cover recreations and mock covers, and depending on how much you're interested in spending.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm happy to have found Scott to manage the business end of it for me, because I have no business mind whatsoever. And we've got an impressive stable of people on CatskillComics.com too. We've got Mike Grell, we've got Olive, we've got he's currently working with Joe Sinnott's son, selling off some Joe Sinnott
wow
pages and artwork. It's who else? Brett Breeding is on there, doing his own commissions. Michael Beck. It's a murderer's row of talented people that Scott has brought together under the Catskill Comics banner. So.
That's outstanding, man. As we close, Henry wants to thank you for being on Word Balloon, agreed, and answering his questions. Your work has a special place in my collection with Kirby, Buscema, Ditko, Ramita, Andrew, etc. So that's nice.
Incredibly flattering. You made the hair on my arm stand up. Anytime I see my name included in a list like that, thank you very much, Henry. That means a lot.
A lot of fun talking to you, Ron. Honestly, please come back, because we're just scratching the surface of your vast career. And a quick, once again, reminder that it's Heroes Union coming out in August.
August 4th.
August 4th, Binge Comics. And final order cutoff is tomorrow. So you've got.
I believe so. Yeah, you check it, but I believe so. Call your shop if it's not too late.
Absolutely.
If we'll get you a copy. If you want a copy, we'll get you a copy. But thank you, John, for taking the time to help promote the Heroes Union, and it's always a pleasure to talk comics with somebody who loves them as much as you obviously do. So,
well, that means a lot. Thank you, man. And everybody, tomorrow night, I'll be talking to Tom King, because he just started a run on Supergirl. But we got Rorschach to talk about. We have Strange Adventures to talk about. Batman, Catwoman. So many things that Thomas.
I was under the impression you weren't going to sell anybody else's talent while I was on camera. Because I'm working like really hard here, not to look like I'm jealous.
It's just a tease. It's just a tease, but I understand. It's all good, man. You're hilarious. Fantastic, man. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Great questions, everybody. As I've said throughout this pandemic, stay safe,